I think that hip hop is a great way to empower people and teach them about different plants and different ways of living and how important the earth is. You know, it makes the earth look cool.
This is Climate Curious, the podcast for people who are bored, scared, or confused by climate change.
I'm Maryam, Pasha, the director and curator at TEDxLondon and the co-host of this podcast, alongside the amazing Ben.
Hi, I'm Ben Hurst, activist and advocate exploring what positive masculinities can look like, and self-confessed climate normie. Okay, we're back. I'm saying we, it's just me. The big three, it's just big me. It's me. And I am doing this episode today, which is about hip-hop, hence the Kendrick Lamar reference that I threw in there. In case you know, if you don't know, you're going to have to get used to this kind of stuff, because today's episode is about a climate rapper. I bet you didn't even know climate rappers existed, but we are talking to Hila The Earth, who is an eco-rapper, a musician, an activist, a zero-waste advocate. How is that even possible? A native New Yorker and an all-round climate storyteller. I'm so excited to dive into this episode. I'm so excited to dive into this interview. I'm so excited to hear more about all the work that you're doing. So help me welcome Hila The Earth. I am super excited. I think you might be the first lyricist we've had. Lyricist, is that fair? The first rapper.
Cool.
Lyricist. I'm gonna go with lyricist that we've had on the show, and I'm super into this, man. We're coming off the back of the Super Bowl, Kendrick Lamar. What I consider to be a massive victory. We're not here to talk about rap politics, but I do think it's nice that we've recentered what hip hop is. And I think this is like a really interesting topic for me, because it's not every day you come across a rapper who's got something to say about this topic in particular. When we're talking about climate, these issues, like, I'm not a rapper by any means. I've tried to write some rhymes a couple of times and it doesn't work. And I feel like the big thing that stops me is, like, I always feel like I just have nothing to say. Do you know what I mean? Like, when it comes to, like, conceptualizing stories, images, running a narrative, I always feel like I just run out of ideas. So I think it's so interesting that you're here. And I want to dive into your story. But before we get to the music, maybe let's start with your background. Let's start with, like, who the heck are you? Where are you from? Where did you grow up? What was the vibe? Like, how have you come to be? Who are you?
Hello, Ben.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
I perform rap music about the earth, and this sort of started because of where I grew up. I grew up in New York City. Shout out to the Bronx, the Boogie Down. That is the birthplace of hip hop. That's where all of my inspiration really comes from. And I grew up in a very industrial part of Lower Manhattan, in Soho specifically. There's no trees on my block, not a single city tree on my block where I grew up.
Man.
And the sidewalks are actually hollow, so they can't plant city trees in there. But there's some vegetation, like planters and stuff. But basically, I grew up surrounded by Calvin Klein ads and retail and fashion. And when I was younger, it was like the art gallery scene, but it swiftly turned into like commerce and very gentrified, sort of like outdoor mall vibes. So that absolutely affected how I saw the world and my connection to what we call nature. Trees, birds, mushrooms, composting, growing your own food. I had no connection to any of that. One of the things that I really remember and recognize is that I never used to notice how the trees in the city would have little buds on them in the late winter, right before spring started. You know, it would just be like, okay, we have winter, and then we have trees full of leaves and flowers, right?
Yeah, the trees are dead, and then they're alive, and that's just how it works,
Yeah, and like, I remember in my 20s noticing the buds for the first time and just being like, was that always like that?
Mom, there's some weird mutation taking place with the trees in the city, So did you feel, would you say you felt disconnected from nature? Because I know for me, like, it was a very, In fact, still to this day, I feel like there's when you grow up in that kind of environment, you're taught that like mud is dirty and you shouldn't play in the dirt and all of that kind of stuff. Did it feel like was that a conscious thing for you, or was it like subconscious in that you never really even considered it? Like that experience of noticing those buds on the trees for the first time, was that like some kind of almost like spiritual awakening, or has it always just been nah?
Yeah, I certainly had felt disconnected from nature and disconnected from the things that I now understand to be very basic in terms of what gives us life. You know, I didn't know where my water came from. I didn't know how to purify or understand the cleanliness of water. I didn't know where any of my food came from. I didn't see the plants of my favorite food. I've always really loved vegetables as a kid. I loved salads, and salad was my favorite food growing up forever. And I never saw a tomato plant, you know, until I was 28 years old. I didn't see a tomato plant. But I love tomatoes, right?
Yeah.
And I never saw a cucumber plant, and I never saw any of the plants that produced these fruit that I loved so much. Just being aware of the things that are so necessary to life and not having that connection as a child. Like nobody really took me out to a camping trip or upstate, or like first time that I was ever upstate and like in a forest was when I was 14. So, you know, I had a connection to the beach and stuff like that, but like, yeah, very like just city life for most of my childhood.
It's so interesting because while you're naming all of these things, I'm having these moments in my brain where I'm like, I don't know where does my water come? That's a good question.
It's
Where
very
does my
important.
water come from? And it's so interesting because we're so insulated. I think when you've grown up in a city, you're so insulated from the fact that nature actually exists and everything comes from nature. You know, you feel like things just come from industry, I guess, or people make things rather than everything existing or pre-existing.
Yeah, and that is a product of colonization.
Right.
So, you know, when we were colonized, like this ancient knowledge of how we are the earth and how we are connected to the earth and all the things that bring us life, that was erased, you know, on purpose so that we would be dependent on the state and like to provide for all of our basic needs or to sell it back to us, right? Like the phenomenon of having water be commodified in plastic bottles is not something that our ancestors would have ever allowed.
Yeah, they actually never had that. Yeah, fair observation.
I mean, not only is it just like theft of, you know, what the earth gives us and what we are made of, sold back to us in a polluting vessel. It's so backwards, and the when we realize that and wake up to that, that's when we set ourselves free.
It's like that. Or is it Orlando Brown, the guy from That's So Raven? There's that meme of him being like, "You're making us pay for grapes and apples, things that the earth gives us for free." And I remember seeing that for the first time and being like, "Oh yeah, like it's so weird that like I can literally just go outside and pick fruits off a bush or a tree or something instead of paying for them." But I want to talk about the moment that you like things changed for you, right? Like that moment of inception. And I've been told that there's a story which is linked to Burning Man and something to do with like a leave no trace culture or something. But you can tell me more, like what was that moment for you?
Yeah, so when I first went to Burning Man, it was 2014, and I just graduated from college, and I'd never, and I never did like a camping trip like that, and I never was in that part of the country. And so already just the fact that I was like camping in the desert, you know, was such a big experience for me to be connected to nature. And I was very inspired by this like counterculture that was being cultivated there of like, you know, radical gifting, radical self-expression, leave no trace. These are what we call the principles of Burning Man. And so it was very important for me to experience that because it really did like open my eyes to a whole new way of thinking about things. Like, you know, part of the culture of Burning Man is that everybody brings a cup with them everywhere so that they can receive drinks and coffee and whatever. And I still bring a cup with me everywhere to this day. Like I don't, I never stopped doing that because it's so genius. Like, why would we keep using and disposing of plastic lined disposable cups that, don't really get recycled and are just landfill when we could be responsible for a reusable vessel and just bring it and wash it and bring it, So I love that. And it was through waste that I really got in touch with the earth. I started thinking about how are things made? Where do they come from? And then also what happens to them when we no longer want them? I got really into composting. I basically realized that if it doesn't compost, that has no purpose, and it's actually really not okay to have like disposable, in quotations, objects that actually don't get disposed. Like there's no way, right? So I felt like that was really important for me to see. But as I grew up and became more aware, I started looking at Burning Man in a much more critical lens. And I realized,
as you do, right, with everything,
and I realized that while their principles are really powerful, like, do they really uphold them? And are they actually, as an org and as the people that go to Burning Man, like really upholding and living in these values, and not just for the week of Burning Man, but for the life that we are living on Earth. And the answer is no. Not a lot of people know that there is like a major protest happening in Black Rock Desert at a site called Thacker's Pass. And this is a lithium mining site that is currently, under development, and there are indigenous people that have been protesting against it for years. And what is the Burning Man community doing to help that initiative, right? Burning Man actually has billionaires flying in on private jets. Burning Man has, just blatant like consumerism surrounding the entire event. Participants go to Walmart to get everything they need. They leave tons of trash all around the surrounding areas in Reno and Fernley, so like in Gerlach, so when you really look at it, it's not what it claims to be. And that is sometimes more harmful because it has this like face of progress, but it's actually causing harm.
Yeah, it's like extreme festival greenwashing, right?
Yes.
And it's such an interesting, also like a really interesting concept to me, that like the thing that for some people can be their moment of inception and transformation can also be like deeply inherently flawed. And maybe like an important thing for us to remember, even as like listeners of the podcast, like that all of us are that duality in everything we do. But with that being said, what did that moment of transformation look like for you?
So when I was preparing for Burning Man, I went on all these websites to figure out like, what did I need? What do I need? I'm camping in the desert. It's very harsh conditions. You have to bring all your water. You have to bring, people were saying, bring baby wipes, bring this, bring that. And so I like pretty much bought everything that I needed on Amazon. And they also tell you to leave your packaging at home, right? Because what you bring into the desert, you have to take, out. So when I got back, I was confronted with this massive pile of packaging in Amazon boxes.
You're like,
I was
like,
wait, I was like, this doesn't feel like right. So that's kind of when I embarked on like my zero waste journey. And it was very imperfect, but I was trying to see, bringing your own cup, of course, but then I was also just trying to see how much trash could I eliminate from my daily activities? How much can I reuse? What can I do? What can I compost? And so slowly I started learning different tools and like knowing how to make my own food and different things like that, like things that I would normally get packaged. I found ways to get them unpackaged, or I made them myself. And that was like the beginning of just like me teaching myself how to be in connection with the earth.
All right, we're gonna dive into some of the music because I really wanna. I feel like you're saying a lot. So we're gonna listen to the songs
I'm the
together.
earth. She's got a lot to say.
We're gonna listen to the songs together, and then maybe we'll have a chat about them afterwards. And so let's start with. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is your biggest hit, which is called "Dirty Talk."
Yeah.
which doesn't sound like a climate action song. But we're gonna have a listen. So Dirty Talk is queued up. 3, 2, 1, go.
Dirty talk, dirty talk, dirty talk, dirty.
You want the dirt? I give you the dirt. I am the dirt that you live on the earth. You want it dirty? I give you the word. I gave you the world. I make it work. I make it work, work, work. I got the worms working under my skirt. I'm what you live on. I'm what it's worth. I am the earth. I give you the dirt. Dirty talk, get on the ground. My body so porous, my body so round. Wanna talk dirty? I'll give you the sound. Give me the roots, I'll give you the mound. Feed me your feces, we need to hustle. Clean up my beaches, show me your muscles. I'll give you crabs, I'll give you turtles. Build me up, baby, I'm filled and I'm fertile.
Dirty talk.
You want the dirt? Feeling the clay and the sand up my shirt? Slipping my silk, I'll give you a squirt. You wanna eat it? You need my dirt. Potassium, nitrogen, enzymes, vitamins. Spread your seeds, I invite them in. Giving you what you need time and time again. I got minerals, fungi, H2O, bacteria, carbon, nematodes. If you wanna grow, you gotta get a hoe. Go work the land, that's a hand job, bro. Throw your organics all over my body. I make it hot, you're welcome to watch me. I break it down, I mix it all up. And then when I'm done, you can grow some new stuff. Lick it up, that plant sweat, I'm sequestering that carbon. I come alive when you get me wet, there's an orgy in your garden. I like variety, so stop that monocropping. Lift up that concrete and watch my flowers popping. The dirt that I've been turning is a cycle, death and birth. And I'm trying to get turned, cause I'm dirty, I'm the earth. You want the dirt? I'll give you the dirt. I am the dirt that you live on the earth. You want it dirty? I give you the word. I gave you the world. I make it work. I make it work, work, work. I got the words working under my skirt. I'm what you live on. I'm what it's worth. I am the earth. I give you the dirt.
That is crazy. that is a crazy song. So
Thanks.
let's start with the hand job. What's
The land job.
the land job. So how I don't know how someone comes up with that. Like where does that creative process start? It's provocative. It's a provocative song.
There's a lot of innuendos in it. That song was written as a part of an album called Naughty for Nature, which was a concept album that I had with my former bandmate. We were Nate and Hila. We also have like a compost song that I'm going to be re-releasing. But that song was part of this like sex and nature compilation, and talking a lot about like animals and how we reproduce or don't, and how plants reproduce, right? And like nature is queer. That was a big theme of the album as well. And so Dirty Talk was like, yeah, it was kind of like, let's sexualize soil.
Why not?
And and it's already funny because of the concept of dirt, and dirt being different than soil, and just like sort of reclaiming dirt, and thinking about it as something that is something we should think about, right? The dirt, the earth, the soil of our world is how we grow food. It's how we survive, how we grow medicine, trees, materials, everything. So Dirty Talk was just that. It was just like, okay, how can we bring these concepts into, consciousness, but also be really funny and provocative and catch people's attention, sex sells. So let's use it.
And I love that personification of the earth as like a person who's definitely about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like who's really, really down for a good time.
Yeah,
and just
sexy
doing his
earth.
thing, because that's the reality. Like his earth is doing this thing whether we're part of it or not, right? Like the world is doing what it needs to do. And maybe let's dive in to the next song here, which is Wet Ass Planet, WAP. WAP, for
WAP,
those who
yes,
didn't
of
get
course.
the acronym
Cardi
there.
B, Megan Thee Stallion, shout out.
Okay, here we go.
I mean,
Mountains got a leak every day this week. Wet ass planet, other planets dry and bleak. Yeah. Yeah, you living on a wet ass planet. Bring your body and a cup, drink this wet ass planet. Get it salty, get it fresh, don't trash this wet ass planet. I'm the earth and I got a moon. I birth a life, then I grab a spoon. You better change it up very soon, before December looking like June. Right on top, my ice is a vibe. I am the reason that you are alive. Don't let it melt, you will survive. Clean up the river, come take a dive. Plant fruit trees, set up hives, plants and bees, let them thrive. I want you to live. And really to chill and just open your eyes. Make it beam, solar scene, public parks, public streams. Cook organic, keep it clean. Trees and forests, keep it green. Yeah, 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 yeah. Give me 2 hydrogen, add it to oxygen. Same old water been cycling in the well. The table's full of me, run down the mountain, filter through trees. When I'm solid, that's that ice. Steam it up while you cook that rice. Every crystal's got that glow, precipitation's cold, it snows. Now put your hands in the air for this wet ass planet. And wave it like you care for this wet ass planet. We're talking watersheds on this wet ass planet. Now make it rain on this wet ass planet. Earth got leeches, crabs on beaches. Water is life, better keep it within reaches. 3 days without it, you'll be hearing screeches. Drink it, clean it, leave it to the eels. It's a food chain, we got fish and seagulls. Lobsters, clams, if you bottom feeders. Filter the water, make it cleaner. Water's a must, we are water creatures. When I say wet ass, you say planet. Wet ass, wet ass. When I say H2, you say O, H2.
We believe our water is sacred because we were born of water and live in water for 9 months. When the water breaks, new life comes. But even deeper than that, we come from our mother's water and her mother's water and so on. All the original water flows through us from the beginning and all around us.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you know, yeah, when back in the day, when I was in church, I used to listen to a lot of Christian hip hop. And I think that one of the things that, like, Christian hip hop is cheesy. Do you know what I mean? It was back in the day, but then there were some good cuts. I think one of the things that was like very overlooked was the ability to share knowledge, the ability to teach through the music and like the learning that takes place when you're listening, because I feel like you're breaking down like real important things. Like the we are water creatures, I think, is the first time I've ever really made that connection between the planet being made of water, like the planet being majority water and us being 70% water, which is like such an interesting thing to think. Like, even when we think about colonizing other planets and going to other places, like the reason why we can't survive is because there's no water anywhere. Like we need that to survive because we are literally that. Such an interesting concept. How do you get these things? Like, where do you, is this just what you think about on a regular day?
Yeah, I mean, water
Yes,
I
is
think
the
about
answer.
all the time because the first thing I do when I wake up is drink water. And we all know that we can't survive without water. And so I think this song is just meant to, like, like you said, like, remind us that we are water. We're mostly made of water. 70% of us is water, and protecting water should be our number one priority in everything that we do, and making sure that we have water to drink, because that is like, when our water is polluted, like, that is such a threat to our life. And we, our societies are so backwards, they're so corrupt, that we have these corporations that are literally polluting the water for us all, and there's no way to stop them, right? I mean, there definitely is, but we haven't figured out to collectively really stop them at this time. So that's what we need to figure out. We need to figure out how to get our power back and how we get our control of our water back and protect our water. Most important thing.
How does, like, with this song in particular, right, Wet Ass Planet, how does that go? How does it go off in the club? Like, what's the how do people respond to it? Is it like, because it's a banger, right? It's a banger.
Well, it's a banger because the original WAP is a banger, right?
And
there's actually a connection, I think, to that, because like the original WAP is about, the
female sexual liberation.
Exactly. And like, and the portal, for life. And speaking on that is also our, that WAP, like where would we be without that? Right? Like, we need to honor women. We need to honor, people who bear children and, wombs. And like, I think that you know, it's all connected, of course. But that song is such a banger. So like all I did was just, you know, alter the lyrics a little bit to make it more sciencey, more earthy. But you know, the song is a banger because the original song is a banger.
Right. And how does the music that you listen to, how would you say that influences the music that you make? Like, is it a direct correlation, or do you feel like you're pulling from different pockets for different vibes?
I'm very lyrical. So like I do really think about lyrics a lot, and that's why a lot of the remixes that I make are like, you know, about the lyrics. And so at this point I have like DMX, I made you know, a version of Earth, X Gonna Give It To Ya. I turned it into Earth Gonna Give It To Ya. That song is epic.
Really
That's actually
fight to not do make dog noises there. That was difficult for me. I was like,
yeah,
Gonna give it to ya.
Earth Gonna Give It To Ya. And that song is great. And I haven't released it on Spotify or anything yet, but maybe soon. And then, you know, I guess what else I have? Oh, 50 Cent. I changed In the Club to On the Land. You know, go shorty, it's your Earth Day.
Yeah.
And now I'm working on Baby Got Fracked. So
Not the fracking. Not the fracking.
you know, so I am inspired by lyrics. I'm inspired by iconic hip hop songs, and if I can figure out a way to earthify them, I get very inspired by that.
Right.
But like in the original music, you know, kind of like looking for beats. I love like MF Doom. I love Jay Dilla. So I'm looking at beats like that, like a lot of boom bap. But I also really love drum and bass. So I'll be out here like just making club hits, or sometimes I'll, you know, I mean, there's so much different kinds of music. Like now people want me to make like a reggaeton. Like I actually do have a reggaeton song, Mycelium. Yeah, because I love reggaeton. Like it's one of my favorites. So I just, you know, I try to recreate music that I love. I never really thought of myself as a musician growing up. And I'm still trying to be more of a musician. Like I said, I really have focused on like my lyricism and my rapping. And so to me, that's been like the focus. But now I really want to like expand and get more into producing and get more into singing and dancing too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
To magnify the vibe. I like that. I think that's important, right?
Yeah, make the Earth a pop
This
star.
is it.
Pop
Yeah,
planet.
man. Why not? And so how do you decide when it comes to like topics? This is where, like I said to you, this is where it all falls apart for me. Like I think I would be able to maybe put together one or two songs and then run out of stuff to say. How do you decide which topics you want to tackle in your songs? Is it like, are you thinking about the things that are the most urgent? Are you thinking about the things that you care about the most? Are you thinking about like ancestors and history, or are you thinking about science and plants? Like where does your mind go when you're deciding what you want to make music about?
Well, I have a very long list of topics.
Yeah.
And it is one of the challenging elements of my life, which is like how to prioritize and what to focus on first and what to focus on, you know, like, of course, I focus on wherever I can like make money, you know, and I'm very grateful that I do get song commissions from organizations, nonprofits or brands that like align with the message and want to produce with me educational content. So when jobs like those come in, I prioritize them. And then I have just like an incredible, I want to make songs for all the trees. I want to make songs for the fruits and vegetables, make songs for the mushrooms, make songs for the birds, the animals, the ecosystems, the water cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the carbon cycle. Like these all deserve
Mate, there's
songs.
a lot of cycles out here. There's a lot of cycles in these streets.
And I do have a song called My Cycle, which is about the menstrual cycle. So.
Yeah, I saw that one. I did the research.
Yeah.
And so this is like this for me. The thing that I love about the music that you're making is that the approach to it is like obviously so grounded and rooted in hip hop, but there's also like another aspect to this, which is like comedy, right? Like it's like satirical, and like it's so like observational in the things that you're pulling out, and that personification of the planet. How does someone like arrive at that point? When did you realize that like that was the magic formula?
I guess my first eco rap song was in collaboration with, in the Nate and Hilla project. We did a song called I Am Plastic Man, and it was about plastic. And then we did another song about bringing your own cup, and then we did another song about humanure and like composting your poop.
Yeah.
And of course that one was pretty funny. And I guess like, I mean, I love comedy. I got into rapping through the stand-up comedy path. Like I started going to open mics and doing stand-up comedy, and then like just like sprinkling my songs in there.
Right. You're like, let me see how the people respond to it.
Yeah.
I know I'm funny. Let's see how they respond to the rapping.
Yeah, and I think that was also part of the joke. Like I didn't really take myself seriously as a rapper then. I just kind of like thought it was funny. Like, oh, this like white passing girl, she's so cute. She's gonna start spitting bars. Yeah, right. And then like I do, and it's like, I can spit bars, But now then once I like really did start taking it more seriously and really approached it as like, this is my poetry, this is my heart, this is something that I'm bringing from like a genuine, sincere place, it became easy to merge that with the environmental activism and like awareness, because that comes from such a sincere place for me.
And you started out when you were rapping as Hila the Killer, right? Like that was. Am I
Yes,
making
that's right.
it up?
I was Hila the Killer.
That was the first alter ego. And so from Hila the Killer to Hila the Earth in 2023, like what is that evolution? Were you a gangster rapper? Was that what was going on in the beginning?
Oh yeah, I was so gangster. Oh my god, I was Hila the Killer. Well, it's interesting because my name, Hila, like is Hebrew. It means the light around the moon. My ancestry is in Palestine, and I grew up in New York City, so people would always mispronounce my name and they would say Hila, right? And I, in 2023, kind of realized that like I want to reclaim my name, and also people recognize me now as the Earth. And maybe it's time to just like put that in my handle, and put that as my artist name, because I'm representing the Earth. I'm the Earth. Like if you don't know that my name is Hila, I dress up like the Earth. If you don't know that my name is Hila or Hilla, like you're gonna remember like, oh, that's the Earth. That's Earth Girl. That's like that's that planet rapper. That's the Earth rapper, right? So like that's when I decided in 2023. Actually, after going to Burning Man again in 2022, and seeing how many people recognize me as the Earth, I was like, I think I need to change my name to Hila the Earth. And then also like Hila sounds like healer, and it's like I'm healing the earth. So I thought it was like all just kind of beautiful and profound. And I feel like, my name has this like story behind it too that connects me to Palestine and, kind of like Israeli identity that is being shed and like reborn. And so there's a lot of like, there's just, it's the Hebrew, it's the Judaism. It's like, there's so much there. It's so packed. And like, I just want to like really own it and be able to share that story as well. So it's cool that I was able to transition that way. And then, it was so natural. It happened so easily. Everyone understood. They were like, oh yeah, Hila the Earth, of course.
What is it about hip hop for you that's like the thing, or is it in the music? Is it in the lyrics? Like, what's the thing that makes it such a useful tool when it comes to like spreading a message?
It's very catchy. It's very easy to remember and also like dance along to. I think it's very like accessible. It's disarming. Music feeds on your emotions and has that like, I find music to be very like emotionally based. And one of the ways in which hip hop really shines is that it's a very like empowering art form. A lot of hip hop like strives to empower the listener or the artist, and I think that we need a lot of empowerment right now. I think the people need to rise up and claim their power and, participate in mutual aid and land back and healing the earth. And I think that hip hop is a great way to empower people and teach them about different plants and different ways of living and how important the earth is. It makes the earth look cool. It's like I don't know. I just think I think it's really powerful, and I know a lot of people do as well.
You've spoken about the importance of music to you as an individual, and like having an eclectic taste, and like being influenced by all of these like great old school, not even old school, but like
Yeah, I guess they're kind of
fundamental rappers, right? Like people who like are authors of the game that we know today. I'm wondering like what role music plays in your life beyond activism.
Well, music is like everything to me. I listen to music when I run, when I hang around my house, when I'm, just making things. Like I love music. I love freestyling. I love dancing. I think it's just like it plays such a big role in my life. And I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase, but like everything is political is like, also like the title of like Slow Factories, like magazine, like it's this notion that like we're on Earth and we're in a society that is politicized, against the people. And so being an activist is kind of just taking action on your values and what you really believe would be the better world that we all could live in. And for me, that means a world where we honor the earth, honor children, take care of children, feed them healthy, nutritious food that grows locally, teach them about where their food comes from and how to engage with animals and life and the water that provides life for us all, caring for the elderly, caring for our, ancestors and our relatives in the trees and the small microbes and insects and all the whole web of life. This is what really matters. And when you live your life this way, like you're an activist. It doesn't necessarily mean like, protesting and, resisting, which of course is also important because we live in this world that is so against those basic things, that tries to like control us and make us dependent on toxic and harmful ways of living. But like, being just like in touch with the earth and meditating and being calm and going to, enjoy the trees and like give energy to trees in their neighborhood or whatever, that is to me activism. And doing so with music is also just a beautiful way to honor the earth. So that's like kind of what I believe is my mission now, is to be the earth singing the songs of the earth.
To represent the earth.
Yeah, and doing so with hip hop because I'm from New York City.
Because I'm from the Bronx, baby. I'm from the boogie down.
From Lower Manhattan, Soho out here.
I love it. It's and I think you're right. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to combine those two things that you're so passionate about, like your values and your principles with the sounds and the music that you love, and to be able to share that with people as a way of like educating, as a way of helping them to connect back to the thing that we've lost that connection to.
And now it's time for our climate confessions. Let's fess up to the bad habits we just can't kick.
So I'm wondering if you've got a climate confession that you'd like to share with the audience.
Sure, yeah. Of course, I'm not perfect, and in my imperfections, that's what, perfectly imperfect, I like to say. And, the earth did create the humans, so whoops. But the humans that are harming her, of course, like not all the humans, because there's such a beautiful connection between humanity and the earth. That is exactly what we're trying to bring. And I think my climate confession would be that I still live in ego. I still care what other people think of me. I still seek validation outside myself. And this sort of results in a pretty severe like Instagram addiction and difficult, mental space surrounding like, my career and comparing myself to other people and their success and, just kind of like wanting to be chosen, you know, by society, to be successful, to make more money, to be, you know, and I think I oftentimes like recognize this, and I am able to like pull it back and recognize that, like, you know, we're all connected and I am enough and I am worthy exactly as I am, and I don't need to prove myself to anybody. I just need to keep doing, you know, the work that I think is good, and to listen to feedback from my community, and of course take accountability for where I make mistakes. And, you know, I think that it's hard. It's a hard reality to be constantly inundated with so much information. And I know that I'm like adding to that, and sometimes I feel selfish, and I feel like, you know, maybe I should be, but maybe I need to also be aware of how, like, this, you know, the modes in which I share my art affect me negatively. And so that's been like my journey recently, is like really learning how to set better boundaries with myself and other people, and that way I can be a better human being. I can be in better service to my community if I take care of myself. And yeah, having this relationship with Instagram where I care about the comments and I care about, you know, how I'm being perceived. It's not healthy for the work that I'm doing. Ultimately, I need to stay focused and learn about how to grow food, learn about how to take care of children, learn about how to, you know, care for the water. Like, these are the important things I need to do. So I shouldn't be wasting my time like scrolling through Instagram, like looking for little hits of dopamine, because that is not good for the climate.
It doesn't actually help. That is such an interesting climate confession. Thank you so much for sharing it also. Because I think it's true, like, it takes you away from it takes you away from being here, from actually existing in real time.
In the world. Absolutely.
Yes.
And
I was inspired by your earlier conversation about composting, but I don't even know what I don't know. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong yet when it comes to composting, but I know that I'm not doing anything, which means I'm probably doing everything wrong. So we can use that as a climate confession. But while you were talking about Instagram, it made me think about AI also. And I've been hearing mixed reviews recently about how much energy AI consumes and uses, and whether that has a measurable impact on the planet. And I don't know. So I'm doing 2 half confessions today. And my promise is that I'm coming back to another episode to tell you the full extent of my failures when it comes to using AI and not composting. But I got to give myself a break. I got to give myself a break, and that's as far as we're going to go. Hila, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Before you go, we need to know where people can find your stuff. Where can people find your music, and how can people support your work?
Absolutely. So I'm everywhere online. I'm in New York City. So if you're ever in New York City, definitely look for me in like the streets and out in, you know, spaces here. But yeah, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and my Patreon is something I'm building right now, which is like sort of exclusive content, more personal, more like, you know, building essays around like my story and just like how I'm navigating everything and resources. And you can really just find me anywhere at Hila The Earth. Like, it's very Hila The Earth, you know, you can find it. Like I said, it's both.
It's HILA.
That's right. One L. That's very important.
1 L.
Yeah,
important.
1 L.
I was struggling before. It's important. Hila, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And to everybody that's listening, remember, stay curious. Thank you for joining us this week. We really hope you enjoyed this episode.
If you did, please hit the follow button to make sure you get next week's release.
We are now officially crowdsourcing Climate Confession, so please leave yours in the ratings and the reviews section, and we'll shout out for you next time. And shout out to our fabulous team behind the pod.
This episode was produced by Josie Colter, artwork designed by Rebecca Mingus,
curation by Maryam Pasha,
mixed and engineered by Ben Beheshty,
music also by Ben Beheshty,
presented by Ben Hurst
and Maryam Pasha. Remember, stay curious.